Life is full of big moments of change and transformation where we have to pivot on our path.
Those moments come with a wide variety of emotions, from fear and anxiety to joy and relief.
I'm Kelly Koopmans.
And I'm Mary Nam, and this is Hard Turn.
Good to see you, Kelly.
Nice to see you too, and nice to see all of you.
That's right.
If you're watching on YouTube or wherever you like to get your podcasts, as we like to say.
Question.
Yes.
Are you wearing Kelly green? Is that Kelly green? Do you know?
Is this Kelly green?
I'm
Or is
actually,
it
it's
like
a serious question. Is it?
I don't know.
Oh, dang it.
I feel
Okay.
like Kelly green is more of a
brighter green?
A brighter green.
Okay.
This I would
Hunter
call
green.
Yes. Or emerald?
Oh,
Question
yeah. Okay.
mark?
Okay.
I don't know.
It's beautiful,
Should go back to
nonetheless.
kindergarten and learn my colors. I'll ask my daughter when I get home.
She'll know. Riley will know.
We have a great episode today. This is an example of someone who goes through a tragedy and really puts it into action. But then I love the surprising twist she puts in there on when action needs to stop.
Yes.
So we're speaking with Chezik Tsunoda today, and she lost her 3-year-old son, Yori, to a drowning that happened back in 2018 on Mercer Island. And since then, she has gotten really into water safety and advocacy about people learning water safety.
Enormously passionate about it, and also very personable and forthcoming about what that loss was like and how she dealt with it. It was an incredible conversation.
Yeah, she has some amazing reflections, and I hope people walk away with some positive things learned from this too. So we'll get right to it. This is Chezik Tsunoda. Oh my gosh, Chezik, I feel like this has been a long time coming. and here we are. I'm so excited to talk to you today. And for the listener at home, we have had lots of time to sit and chat ahead of time. So it just feels like a really good time to jump right into this. Let's just get right into your story. We like to start right at the hard turn where, you know, something happens in life and you have to pivot. And for you, I'd like to start off first before we talk about the event that unfolded. Tell me a little bit about Yori himself.
Yori, he was my third child, is my third child. And he, honestly, when he first came out, like during birth, the first thing I remember is holding him and asking the doctor. And, you know, I just said, hey, is it okay to say that he's my most beautiful child? Like, I've had 2 other prior, but he was special from the beginning. Like that, those were my first thoughts about him. And he was just a special kid, always smiling, loved airplanes, loved to just like make people laugh and giggle, and was like huge energy. What else? He was a snuggler, and just a favorite memory is like, for whatever reason, I'm really strict on bedtime and stuff. And I was like, I'm not sleeping with my kids. Like, they're not sleeping with me. Like, I'm going to create this boundary. But oh my gosh, Yori used to like come into my room at 2 a.m. and drag me into his room. And I would go in and snuggle with him. And those are just some memories now that are so super special.
And can you almost feel those memories like physically?
Oh, well,
even
when
now?
I close my eyes, I mean, it's what you have when, you know, you have a loss. Those are, and especially so young, like you hold on to those memories and feel into them for as long as you can. It's harder the further out we go, to really be able to grip them, perhaps like I used to, but luckily I have lots of videos and pictures and, yeah.
You know, these memories reflect a time when you were really busy in life. 3 kids, full schedules, 4 kids at the time, 4 kids. Can you describe the dynamic of your family and the event that happened?
Sure. Just for, I'll say, boundaries and understanding where I'm at in the space, I will chat, but maybe not go into depth, you know, as far as what happened. But yes, I had 4 boys in 5.5 years, so it was energy, crazy, lots happening. And ultimately, we were at a pool, and You have a lot to watch, and Yori drowned. And so you can imagine that shift of this crazy busy and just having one child removed from that, the shift that happens immediately, and the devastation ultimately.
When you reflect on maybe those first days, months, even within the first year, what are some of those things of the changes that stand out to you? And when you look at the grief process, at what point was it, because you're very active now in using this as an advocacy point, at what point did you think, I have to take what's happening within me and make this like an outward manifestation to help other people?
Sure. I will say for me in particular, and I think it happens with some people, I just felt very connected. When I say connected, I mean spiritually connected. I think how I've kind of put it is when you lose a child, or let's take a step back. When you have a child, you want to know where your child is, right? You want to know they're okay and where they are. And I feel like a piece of me honestly like went with him. And I just felt connected still to him, still do. And so I was able to really trust my gut and what was coming to me. And it was hard because you're in a daze. It's the worst nightmare that you never wake up from. I remember sleeping in the hospital, and I would wake up and be like, oh, this is real. Because I just thought I was dreaming. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, wow, this is my reality. And so feeling that connection and trying to understand what the new reality was, I think I was able to listen to how I was feeling and realize that you have to get something out. Right? If you hold it all in, it's horrible. Even though crying was really hard, I was just mentioning to you, I had an experience recently, and crying, I was able to cry, but that sobbing, it's like, it doesn't come easy for me, right? Because you got to keep going. I have 3 other kids that saved my life. Just honestly, if I didn't have to get a 1-year-old out of bed, I don't know what I would have done with myself. I apologize, this is all over. But ultimately, the time that I wasn't putting Yori to bed, the time that I wasn't spending dedicated to him growing and learning to potty train and do all of those things, I needed to put somewhere. And so that was kind of the birth of No More Under and my film, just needing to, how do I release? How do I have that, get it out of me somehow?
I always feel like our subconscious is in 3 places at once. Okay, and hear me out. I always think there is an element that reflects on our past, today, what we've got going on today, and the anticipated future. Not that we're sitting here thinking about, oh, this is my future, this is my child when he's 25 or when he gets married someday, but there is this 3 places that is always kind of in our hearts. And for you, when Yori passed, it was such a seismic shift. How did you navigate the grief of losing a child while at the same time being an active parent, being a wife, and also trying to understand this pain that fell on your lap and changed your world?
I guess as a reflection, I can tell you kind of my steps, but as it's happening, you have no idea what you're doing, and you're just getting through every day the best that you can, right? I was really blessed with some books, some people that came towards me that I wasn't necessarily really good friends with, but just that knew what to say to kind of help guide me. I kind of say this is a bit of a village situation where you want to be, it's very lonely, right? Grief. And I think especially when you lose a child, we have this collective grief. Maybe if we lose a parent and we have siblings and we all experience it differently, but you have that to lean on, you know? And I always say also that losing a child, even with your partner, you can't be there to support them, and they can't be there to support you really either, because you both have lost this child.
And
that
you are different people who are going to grieve differently
Exactly.
for your specific loss.
Exactly. So I, books, and for a minute, it was just a daze. It was just a daze, and I am just like, I put one foot in front of the other. I get kids up, I get them to school, I make lunch, I make dinner, just chop wood, right? What is that saying? Like, you know? And then slowly I did start to, feel things out a little bit more. Just you search and you talk to other people, and then you find your way through.
And you mentioned No More Under being a great spot for you to kind of hone in on that. And so tell me a little bit about No More Under. This is the nonprofit that you founded. You were noticing a lot of inequities when it came to access to swim lessons, the prevalence of drowning, and just the astonishing number of kids that fall victim to this and the age ranges. Tell me some of what you learned that stood out to you most that you think might surprise some of our viewers at home, that explain the reason why you started No More Under.
Sure. I think I want to take a baby step back and just say, as a mom, you think you're doing you want to do everything right. I had my kids in swim lessons. I was doing all the things that I thought I was supposed to do. But when you kind of make that a mistake, right? Like I could have perhaps prevented what happened, right? Perhaps. And I wanted to dig in and understand, like, what did I do wrong? Where did I mess up? And I realized that I did not know that it was the number one reason children 1 to 4 die. I didn't realize that quite a few Black and brown children just don't even have access. Like, parents don't know some of these things, or at least at the time. I feel like the awareness has shifted a little bit, especially when celebrities in particular lose children, or celebrities themselves drown. Some of those statistics have come out since, but at the time I was just shocked that my doctor, who we've had lots of conversations about, I knew about candy. I knew about electricity. Like, I knew all these other dangers. Oh, make sure this fence is on the stairs. But, oh my gosh, the number one reason they're going to die is they're going to fall in the toilet, or they're going to fall in a lake, or they're going to drown during those time periods. So it just felt really important for me initially to, like, scream it from as many rooftops. I had my megaphone, but I realized that no one thinks it's going to happen to them. Just like I wouldn't think it would happen to me. In fact, I had a conversation with a mom months before, and we were talking about the scariest things about our kids. We were like, oh my gosh, I'm so worried that this is going to happen. She said swimming or drowning, and it just I was like, oh man, yeah, that's right. Just consider if I would have, taken that as a warning sign, or just that's right, So I started the organization. I was just called to do so, and recognize that it's really about talking about water safety over drowning, because no one thinks their kid is going to drown until it happens. And let's talk about, are you water safe? Do you know how to be water safe? And do you take your kids to swim lessons? So we've been going now 6 years, and we've gotten thousands of children through swim lessons, which has been amazing. And we've moved now to a national model as well. So we're supporting children here in Washington State as well as across the country. And so there's still so much more work to be done. I would love for this to be something that is in education. It's in physical education or even health class, just to share with children, because it's not just the 1 to 4, it's teenagers, it's teenage boys, particularly here in Washington. And so there's still more work to be done, as there is always, but I feel as though we've helped a shift happen. We've helped some awareness, and we've changed a couple people's lives, just especially these kids. Some of them, the statistic is you're only 13% likely to learn how to swim if your parent does not know how to swim. And a lot of these kids, I think our statistic, I just looked at it, 81% of children in this particular group, I think it was this year, 81% of children, it was their very first swim lesson, and 65% of those children, their parents had no swim lessons. So it just really follows that statistic to understand parents need to know and have awareness. So
one of the really poignant outreach methods was the documentary that you made. It's called Drowning in Silence. And in it, I know you interview other families who know this pain personally. Can you tell us about the documentary?
Talk about healing. Talk about healing and being able, I think when you go through something hard, finding other people who have been through something similar. And even though, as you said, we're different people and we grieve differently, it's just they understand. There's an understanding there. And so I'm still actually really good friends with one of the families that I spoke with in my film. But ultimately, you see my healing journey, even going back to the pool where Yori passed away, and also other people who are even still dealing with it, because the drownings happen, but then also drownings happen and children survive, and what that looks like as well.
I remember seeing that, and that really stood out to me, is sometimes the children don't pass away, but it is a completely different life because physically they're forever changed. And I think a lot of people think about either you drown or you live. But there is that middle ground that I thought you explained so well, and the families explained so well.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to say that it's a heavy but hopeful film because I think you do see where we can shift as a society, and we just need to kind of click. Like, again, I'm sure I've said this 1,000 times, but we know when we get in the car, we put on our seatbelt. We know when we get on a bicycle, we put on our helmets. But when we get on a boat, we don't always put on a life jacket. When we go in the ocean, we don't always put on a life jacket. And it just needs to be part of our everyday, thought process to understand how to be safe around water.
You've done a lot of other things. So I mentioned No More Under, the documentary. You spoke with Oprah about some of this. You've done legislative work here in Washington State. What else do you see that you would like to do, that you would like to tackle or change that still needs to be made?
So before I get to that, I would like to say what I feel like is a little bit important is also giving myself space. And so it's funny, you say all these things that I've done, and it's never going to be enough. Like, it's never going to bring Yori back. And that took me a minute to really, I know he's not coming back, but I just thought, I don't know exactly what I thought, but I was running so fast, trying to do all of these things. Some of it was for the guilt, I'm sure. Some of it was like maybe something. And so I've given myself a little permission to breathe, right? I've given myself a little permission to say, you've done a lot, and there's always going to be more to do. But what I would still love to see is schools participating more. It's happened. It's in my film, actually. Honestly, I shot this school in Pasadena, and I just knew that showing everyone this school and how they've done this, that let's do
doable.
it.
It's doable.
Come on,
yes.
let's go. But there's so much red tape. There's so much challenge with our schools and educations already. And so trying to add something on top of that, even though it's a life-saving skill that will save lives, whether it's right now or 20 years from now, because we're making water-safe parents, it's tricky. So I would still really love the schools to tap into water safety in a meaningful way. And I would also, I would just love for it to be a conversation that we're not scared to have. Right? I would love for it just to be something that we talk to our kids about and aren't scared of it because it's too much, or this is just something we talk about. Don't cross the road without holding my hand. Well, don't get into the water without coming to tell me or ask me, so making it part of our everyday conversation.
You've been very open about your grief process. You're a spiritual person. If you don't mind me asking, Chezik, can you describe your relationship with Yori now?
I got chills when you asked. I just got
things
chills.
that surprised you maybe along this journey. Because I know my personal belief, and maybe you agree, is that it's still ongoing. It never goes away. So how would you describe your relationship with your son?
Yeah, I definitely believe that energy never dies. And Yori has shown up for me in so many ways. I'm definitely spiritual, and people talk about their spirit guides or talk about God. And I just really believe that Yori has held my hand more than maybe I've known. I can feel it. I felt it a lot more when he first passed away. His presence just, it was there. And then there's moments. So yesterday, I was at like a retreat and I got in the water. And I don't want to get too emotional, but water is hard for me. And I got in the water and he was there. And there was a woman that was holding me, and part of me wished that I could hold Yori and had been able to hold him as she was holding me, and I felt him, And so in my hardest moments of grief, or when I do have those moments where I really don't feel like I want to be here, I know.
Yeah.
I know that it's going to be okay, and that he was here for a reason and is still here.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
We like to ask people, as we wrap things up here, if you had some advice for someone facing a big obstacle, it doesn't have to necessarily be the loss of a child, but just something where they're like, gosh, where do I go from here? What advice would you have?
I think my biggest advice is to remember that this too shall pass. And as heavy as it feels right now, I share it with my child as well. I'm like, it might be 1 minute, it might be 1 hour, it might be 1 week, it might be 1 month, it might be a year, but this is going to pass. And as much as you can ask for help, whether you're asking for help internally, whether you're asking for help in prayer, whether you're asking help from your village, it's okay. I struggle asking for help even today in this moment. I struggle, but I realize how much people want to. You feel helpful when someone asks me for help.
Sure.
It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So consider you're making someone else feel good.
You're helping them out.
You're helping them. But it's going to pass, and help is there. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a phone call to a stranger just to get it out. I'm a verbal processor. Sometimes I just need to talk. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's hard for me. I'm like, who can I call? Mm-hmm. And even if you need to call a hotline or ChatGPT.
Whoa. Hold on. I was going to wrap up this interview, but
seriously,
that's really fascinating.
It really is sometimes you just need to get it out.
Yes.
And you just need to remember that this is a moment in time, and consider all the other times in your life that you've had a hard time and that you've gotten through it, and it has shifted. So there's peaks and there's valleys, and you just got to hold on. Yeah. The peak is on its way.
Yeah. Well, Chezik, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing some of Yori with us too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you so much.
We'd like to thank Chezik for coming in and speaking with us. What a wonderful woman.
Yeah, I think what was really great for viewers behind the scenes is we were going through some technical things a couple of times, but we saw that as a really good gift, actually, because it gave us some really quality time to talk with Chezik.
Yes.
And get more acquainted with how she has processed these things. And it was I just want her to know that we really appreciate her and how candid she was about
Yep.
Yori and some of the things that she shared. I wrote down a couple of things. I wasn't necessarily expecting her to say that I've done all these things. I've done the documentary and the nonprofit and the legislative work and met Oprah, and now I need some space. Oftentimes, I would assume that someone might be like, and next I'm going to take on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, like conquer all these other things. But for her to reflect of saying, I need some space because I recognize I was doing some of this to somehow bring Yori back, and it will never be enough. There is no threshold that she could hit to think, well, I've done it. I have achieved a level worthy of Yori. So I thought that was just a really wonderful reflection of sometimes you also need to know when you need to stop, step back, reflect, and just give yourself a little space.
And let's remember, still a mom, has growing boys, super busy, day-to-day responsibilities, and she was doing all of this on top of that. But just to know that about yourself, to know that I'm going, 24/7 all the time, and it's because you're trying to make a dent in this hole in your heart, right? And what can you do to save this type of pain from reaching another family? So I completely understand the motivation, but to just know that about yourself and think, I got to take a break. I got to slow down. Totally okay.
Yeah. I also found it interesting when you were talking about the 3 different ways that you're looking at life. And tell me a little bit more about that and how you see that in your life. We're talking past, present, and future versions of.
Well, and especially, it's easy to do, especially when you have young kids, because in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, not always.
Projecting.
And not, projecting or subconsciously, like, oh, when so-and-so goes to college or stuff like that, or when they grow up. And when you lose a child, that whole narrative, it crumbles. And to have to reacquaint yourself with this new reality, I was thinking how heartbreaking and shocking it must have been. And that is part of grief. And I know you've talked about that with your experience when Michael passed away, and having hit the 1-year mark, and having gone on so many adventures, single-handedly too, Kelly. When the definition of what you thought was always going to be there suddenly just vanishes.
Yeah, and that can happen, I think, for us and with so many people who deal with a potentially life-threatening diagnosis. That happens in the doctor's office where you think you have this whole future and it immediately changes. Chezik's view of what Yori's life was going to be like, in 2018, she had to adjust that. We had to adjust the second we got Michael's diagnosis. So that was even 2 years ago now, which is crazy to even think about. But what I really like that she also touched on, and it's so funny she said this because I emceed an event with Molly a couple months ago. Let's just say that. And part of my message that I shared was this concept in physics that energy is neither created nor destroyed. And my version of that was the hope that Michael had for the future of finding cures for cancer and all of that. It didn't die when he did. That energy didn't end. It transferred to me, which then I could transfer to our children who knows how they're impacted by this later in life to help humanity, and then able to transfer it to people in the crowd. And so when she said the energy of Yori doesn't die, that totally resonated. And that's something I've heard a lot in the grief world is like the person is gone. And I was so glad that you brought up what is your current relationship with Yori? Because I think a lot of people, when they grieve, they have a current relationship with that person. It just looks different than you thought. And it's also a work in progress. So if you're someone out there who's trying to figure out what is my relationship to this person that I've lost, don't put pressure on yourself on it. I think that people will figure that out in time.
It was so emotional just to listen to her describe it. That was very touching.
And also this concept, just looking at a practical matter of what can be done to save lives, the idea that that there isn't more swim instruction. Maybe that's a Pacific Northwest thing because we're not in Florida or Southern
Right.
California where it's a year-round thing. It just seems like something that would be more of a no-brainer, but I understand there are hurdles to that financially
Yes.
for school districts.
She has changed lives with her outreach and the nonprofit and the documentary. And I can't put a value on that. She has already changed so many lives.
She has. So, Chezik, thank you so much for joining us. And Mary, it is wonderful to chat with you.
Always good to see you,
as
Kelly.
always, and all of you.
Bye, guys.